Today we're going to talk about the cap section of your favorite modeling unit. One of the most important blocks of your modeling unit is the cap section. And that is especially important because the guitar cap is, well, making a huge amount of the percentage of the overall tone shaping. And that is the case for analog gear if you're using a real amp with a real cap. But also, of course, in a modeling unit where you're typically using an IR. And there are a couple of features that are included in most of the common units, which are similar, which you can change. For example, the mic and mic type, the mic position, and the high and the low cut. And today I would like to show you how to use these things. So I'm using my Hotone Ampero II stage, and here's the editor. Currently I'm playing one preset out of my preset pack, which I'm offering. And if you want to get my preset packs, as always, please contact me on Facebook or Instagram. Links are in the description below. Then you will get the best high gain tones out of your unit. And here in this preset pack, I'm also including some presets which are for front of house usage and some presets for recording. Currently I'm using one for recording. And of course, please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. So that will help me growing and doing these things here. Anyway, so here is the preset, and currently I'm in the lead scene, but let me switch to the rhythm scene. I've engaged the widener effect, which I like when playing at home, stereoizer, but we will disengage this. Guitar is my Harley Benton Fusion, everything's stock, and of course in red, because red guitars sound better than others. And in the cap section here you find, of course, a list of IRs which you can choose from. And of course there are some IRs, I think, for bass sounds, but in this case I'm using the Rector 4x12A. And the thing is, the first step when I'm choosing an IR is, of course, I choose the one which comes closest to my desired sound. So I'm going through the list here. And typically I end up, most cases, with a Marshall or a Mesa cap. But that doesn't mean it's your favorite IR in your modeling unit. For example, in the Mooer GE300 I'm using a PVIR, I think. And let's check out the Marshalls here. Okay, these are Friedman's angles. Two by 12s, okay. Well, maybe we can use the Marshall Vintage 4x12, the one with the Vintage 30 speakers, I think. And here you have the mic type, and you can see here are different mixes where I think they're already preparing some mixed mics. course, you can play around with these, and sometimes you will find a combination which sounds great for your ears. So I personally like here the Mix 3, Mix 4. I don't like it too harsh. But of course that is dependent on the manufacturer of the unit. Typically you found your mics that are Dynamic 57, the SM57, which is the one which I use most of the time. For the SM57 you have to know that it's taking out a lot of the mids, which is in most cases very useful, because the speaker itself, it's very mid-focused. It's cutting the highs and the lows, maybe below 100 Hz and above maybe 5K. And so you have a very mixed focus result in the room, which you may like as a amp in the room sound, but for the front of house you need a little bit more highs and lows, and the SM57 is boosting these frequencies a little bit. You can check that out if you look at the frequency curve of that. Usually the SM57 tends to get a little bit harsh for my taste. So what I would do is I would move the microphone away from the center, so because then the sound gets darker. So this is the center. Let's move it to the cap edge. Already darker here. Cone. Cap edge. Near edge. And here, edge. Sounds already nice for my taste. But maybe a little bit too harsh still. When playing live, it can get annoying if you have too much high frequencies. So what I usually do then is I apply a high cut. And that is something which I do in most cases when playing live. Set it quite low for maybe many people, around maybe 5K, and it will sound dark in your studio environment, but not in a live situation, not necessarily. You can also try to move the mic back to the center here and just play around with the high cut first. And in many cases, the SM57 with the Marshall cap will lead to a, well, pleasant result, at least in my ears. And of course, if you have a cap which has too much bass frequencies, you can apply a low cut. It's something which I would set around maybe 100 Hz when playing live. Usually that doesn't hurt. So for me, usually the SM57 with some kind of high cut does the job very well, even if you don't have the ability to change the position of the mic. Of course, you can change the position. Then I'd recommend to do it first before you set the high cut. And yeah, as I showed you, maybe here, the cap edge. Depends on if you're playing live or you want to set up your recording sound. Usually for recording tones, it doesn't matter if the tone is too harsh, because either you can cut the highs in your DAW, I wouldn't recommend to make it too thin here when recording, but other than that, it's way more tolerant than in a live situation. But another thing which you could play around with, and which I'd recommend, is to check out the different mic types. So maybe let's go back to the initial state here, center and high cut off, very harsh. And of course there are other microphones here which you can play around with. The Ribbon 121, which is maybe the Royal 121, is a very dark sounding mic. And many people, for example like John Petrucci, they use it in combination or blending it a little bit to the SM57. You can hear this simulation, it's not too dark, but it has a lot of bass frequencies, especially if you move it away from the center. You can get a nice tone, but my experience was it adds a little bit too much of phasing in the lower mid-range or bass frequencies, which is something which I don't need or is not that helpful in a live situation, so I tend not to use it. But in some modeling units the Royal 121 sounds really great and leads to great results. So yeah, you can try to play around with that. That is a very dark sounding microphone. So if you're looking for another one. Then you have, of course, here the 421, which is a Sennheiser, I think. Has its own characteristics. To me it sounds a little bit stiff. Maybe for metal riffage it's good because it doesn't have that huge bump in the bass frequencies like the SM57. But also doesn't have the sizzle. Sounds also nice in my opinion, but as I'm familiar to the SM57, I usually start with that. And there are also some other ribbon mics here, the 160, which I'm not that familiar with. The thing is, and that is something which needs a lot of experience. If you can hear phasing issues or a little bit odd frequencies in the mic, then I would choose another one. And I'm hearing this definitely here with the 121 and the lower frequencies, and also a little bit here in the upper mid-range. And the condenser, this one, the 87, is something which is not as dark as the Royal usually. Sometimes they use it, it's very open sounding, but has still lots of mids. Especially compared to the SM57 here. I think you can hear it the SM57 sounds really thin if you use it by itself. But yeah, if you move it away from the center, it leads to a very usable sound, and that is, I think, That is, I think, the reason why it's so popular. Because in most live scenarios, the SM57 is working. And the SM57 is not the problem if your guitar sound is not right. So in other words, if you can't get a good result with an SM57 and a decent cab, you will not get a good result with another mic either. At least in my opinion. So and maybe we can check out another speaker and let's see how far we can get with that. Well, maybe we can use a Bogner 2x12, which is also a very good sounding speaker, at least the rear one. And use the SM57, move it away from the center. Okay, that doesn't the job, so let's cut the highs off. And I think we need more bass frequencies. So in this case, it sounds nice. But as it is a 2x12, maybe it doesn't have that huge amount of bass frequencies, so maybe we can add some bass here in the amp. And of course you have to adjust your amp tone to your IR. I think out of the 2x12 here, this is one speaker with IR which I checked out now randomly, so I wouldn't use it because it has way too few bass frequencies for my taste. But yeah, you can boost the bass frequencies, of course, in the amp section then. And yeah, the ones which I end up in most cases are the regular ones, at least if they are of a good quality in the modeling unit. Let's set it maybe to near center, cut the highs. Might be a little bit too much. I think it was the rector one, sorry, which I wanted to show you. Move it a little bit away. There we have it. So I think this is the one which I'm using my preset pack. Maybe we can compare it to the mix now. So this is just the SM57 and mix 3 was a nice sound. Sounds a little bit similar, I think. Let's see, they have the combination with the Royer and the SM57, maybe. No, not here. Maybe this one. Now the thing, if you're using more than one microphone, you can get phasing issues. I think they didn't get phasing issues for their mix IRs, because maybe they're professionals and they know what they're doing. But if you're blending microphones by yourself, you have to be careful of these phasing issues. So yeah, the easiest way, as I said before, SM57, cut the highs, and then you'll go to most situations. And yeah, don't be afraid to cut the highs at a very low frequency. Sometimes I go down to maybe 4 something, 4K, for live playing. And also the low cut. Sometimes I go up to maybe 120 Hertz, and what you can do to compensate that is just boost the bass range here. And then you're hearing only the boost in the lower mid-range, and that sometimes is the desired goal for a fat guitar tone, just fat lower mid-range instead of bass frequencies which are destroying the mix. So hope this helps you to get the best tones out of your modeling unit. If you got any questions, as always, please post them in the comment section, and other than that, I hope to see you soon. Bye.